Hey everybody, Alex from SeemsGoodMagic.com here, and we're doing an 8-4 Dragons of Tarkir draft actually. I ended up winning my last Swiss draft, so we get to move up to 8-4, and we'll see if we can make it to the finals here. So what's Draconic Roar do again? Okay, reveal a dragon. I can deal 3 damage to a creature. If I reveal a dragon card, deals 3 damage to the controller too. Well, it's 2 mana, 3 damage to a creature only. Player, if I have that, that's still pretty good. Corpse Wept is a great card, though. Um, I can take it and probably design a pretty good deck around it, too. I really do think this card is pretty powerful. I've only played against it once, and man, it's such an awesome powerhouse card when it comes in at the right spot, and just pairs really well with certain cards, too, like Gurmag Drowner and stuff that puts cards in your graveyard. I think I'm just going to take Corpse Wept. Kind of limits me to an exploit deck, granted, but it is a rare, and I think it's an actual pretty powerful rare. All right, well, Flatten seems like a pretty good follow-up. I like a Tarka Efreet a lot. I got a chance to play Avatar of the Resolute, and I think that's a really good card too. Pacifism is of course good. I mean, we're just gonna stay on color and take the Flatten because Flatten is certainly a good card. It's Dragon Killer all day. In fact, is that a dragon corpse in the picture? I believe it is. Actually, no, I think it is. Someone else. I'm so bad at art. I never pay attention to art. I honestly have no idea. Butcher's Glee is also good, but yeah, we got to just take Flatten. It seems like the correct follow-up here. Okay, what do we got here? We've got Ambuscade Shaman, who is pretty good. Certainly a good card. Pairs really well with Dash. Problem, of course, being if I end up blue-black, which I admit I want to because of Corpse Wept, I'm not going to get as much Dash, and I'm not going to be actively seeking Dash either, I should say. I'm much more likely to be seeking exploit cards than Dash cards. Not that those cards can't go together, and maybe I'm just better off taking the Shaman. But I got to admit, I'm pretty tempted to take the Ojutai Summons and just begin to move into a blue-black exploit deck. But maybe I shouldn't force myself into that. I mean, this dash is for 4 for a 4/4. That's tough. I think I'm going to do the safe pick and take the Shaman, which is fine. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, Dutiful Attendant, certainly a good card. There's also Scion of Ugin, 6-drop, 4/4. That's pretty solid. Dutiful Attendant's going to work better if I end up in the plan I want to, which is a blue-black exploit deck, mostly because of, like I said, how well it's going to work with Corpse Wept. But I kind of don't want to box myself into that. I think I still take the Dutiful Attendant, but I got to admit, I'm pretty tempted to just slam this Scion of Ugin. 6 mana 4/4 flyer is still pretty good. And it still leaves me just as open as I was before. I think I'm going to take the Attendant. I like Scion a lot. I want to keep my curve relatively low, and I like the potential value to be reaped from this Dutiful Attendant. Although, admittedly, I guess it doesn't pair remarkably well with Corpse Wept, but that's okay. Wow, Shieldhide Dragon. I feel like I haven't even seen that one yet. Well, it's a fairly late white removal spell. Could also take a Beast Breaker. Nothing insanely good in here. Tormenting Voice seems like a card that could pair well with Corpse Wept, but certainly not the most exciting pick. I could take black. I could take the white pick here. It does seem like blue's getting cut, so I guess I'm kind of happy I didn't dive right into that. I do think Shieldhide Dragon is pretty good. I'm kind of tempted to just take the removal, though. I think I'm going to take removal. I don't know if it's right yet. All right. The Monument could mean move into more of a dash deck. There's also a Marsh Hulk, which is a fine card, actually. I like Marsh Hulk a lot. There's also a Sprinting Warbrute, which I do like as well. I guess I'm kind of tempted to take the Marsh Hulk. Um, I don't have to go into white yet, but for sure I'm going into black. Marsh Hulk is just a good card in general. 4/6 for 6 in black. Black typically is the color that gets the least efficient creatures, and yes, that even I believe is less efficient creatures than blue, even, believe it or not. But I think we're just going to take the Marsh Hulk. I like its power and toughness and keeping me in black. Not quite moving into my second color yet. Still sort of trying to weigh in at where I should be. Echoes of the Kintree is good. Sadist is not so good, but it is a card that's going to pair well, I guess with Quartzweft. But that's not necessarily a reason to take Sadist. I actually don't like Sadist all that much. I think it's an overall kind of pretty underwhelming card. I could take a Negate. I could take the Echoes of the Kintree. I do like Echoes a lot. It's probably a more exciting pickup than the Negate. I think I'm just going to take Echoes. It's pretty late. Could be an indication that black-white is where I am to be, which is fine. Coat with Venom is a very strong card. I think I'm just going to slam that here. Student of Ojutai is also fine, as is Center Soul, but and here's a Silumgar Monument if I wanted to make the blue-black thing work, but blue does seem to be getting cut pretty harshly, so I think we're better off going black something else. And though I do have the Ambuscade Shaman, which, like I said, works really well with Dash, I think I'm just going to take this Coat with Venom. And probably end up sticking to this black-white plan. Second Marsh Hulk makes me pretty happy. I like I said, I do think Marsh Hulks are very good in general. Okay, Sandstorm Charger. Tabling a Swift Workite. Now that's interesting. That's not what I was expecting. Swift Workite is quite good. Unfortunately, not that good in our deck yet. It does bring back a Dutiful Attendant, I suppose. Otherwise, I think I kind of want the... I'm going to take the Charger. You might be wondering why I did that, but mostly it's because I've already got a couple pretty good white picks, and I actually really like the Charger a lot. A 4/5 body, granted you have to Megamorph it, but a 4/5 body is actually very good. So Glaring Aegis versus Carsey Sadist. I do like Aegis, but it doesn't really look like that good in our deck yet. Whereas Sadist, I guess, doesn't look that good either, but I need some cheap creatures, so I guess I'll take it. Okay, Duress versus Dunecaster. That's certainly interesting. I think I'd rather have the Duress. Duress is a pretty main deckable card, and at the very least is a good sideboard card, so I think I will take that. Grave Purge, not pairing so well with the old Corpseweft, but I think I'm going to cut black regardless and sort of indicate to players that I am, in fact, in black. All right, Tapestry of the Ages is currently playable in this deck, but I would prefer not to if possible. Okay, so interesting pack one. I'm kind of glad I stayed a bit more open. I think it came at the cost of perhaps some higher power level cards, but wow. And then we open Sunscorch Regent, which is like one of the biggest rewards I could get for staying open, and especially kind of, branching inadvertently into white. So there's a reason to be in white, huh? Yes, very happily taking Sunscorch Regent here. And what am I passing that I would like to table? Well, I think it's wishful thinking to hope that I can table Kieran, Avon, Lightwalker, or Dutiful Attendant, or Bloodshin Rager. But any of those cards wheeling is going to make me happy, but of course we're going to be taking this amazing Bomby Dragon. Okay, now I have Removal Spell. I have Herald, which is a warrior creature. Warriors, of course, being good with, I guess, nothing yet, but I do want a pretty high creature count if I'm hoping to make Corpseweft any good in this deck. There's also Student of Ojutai. So I think the choices are really Defeat, Herald, or Student. And I'm pretty tempted to just take the Defeat because it kills Morphs all day. And it kills certain flyers like Lotus Path Djinn or something like that. I do like Butcher's Glee, but yeah, I think we're just taking Defeat here. I am going to need some more creatures, granted, but I think typically creatures are easier to get than removal spells. That's just sort of like what I've found. I'm pretty tempted to take second Coat with Venom because I think it really is that powerful of a combat trick, being 1 mana. There's a Dromoka Warrior as well, which is fitting into our curve relatively well. We're currently a little bit short on actual creatures. But Coat with Venom, I don't know, man. 1 mana +1/+2 Death Touch is pretty insane. There's also an Acid Spear Dragon, which, you know, pairs well with Sunscorch Regent, I guess. But yeah, I think the choice is Dromoka Warrior or Coat with Venom for us. And it's tough. I can't really decide. I think the Warrior. I'm starting to get concerned. I'm not going to have enough good cheap creatures, so I'm going to take the Warrior. I really do think Coat with Venom would have just as easily been a good pick there, but I think it's 100% Dromoka. I mean, 100% both cards were going to make our deck, but as is right now, I'm a little more concerned about being creature light than I am being spell light. Foul Tongue Invocation, and that's a removal spell. Spots where it could be bad, spots where it could be very good. We do have an actual dragon that I can flip. Otherwise, I take the Skirmisher, which pretty much just pairs well with Ambuscade Shaman. But I'm not opposed to Foul Tongue Invocation. I think that could end up pretty good. Clearly, there are spots where it would be bad, but it's a relatively cheap removal spell, and I think it's a little more exciting than Kolaghan Skirmisher. I'm going to have to give Invocation a try. I haven't actually played this card yet. Sipsig Icebreakers versus Artful Maneuver. I do like Artful Maneuver. Once again, I'm a little bit more concerned about ending up with too many combat tricks paired with removal. And I mentioned this in my last draft, but a big, major, glaring issue that happens is if you end up with too much tricks and removal and creature light, I think you run into some Omega problems. And a good example of that would be 2 drafts ago when I drafted blue-black. I was trick and removal heavy and creature light, and I feel like that really did cost me in the end. I'm not a big fan of Icebreakers, but I think it's okay taking it here. Even though I think Artful Maneuver is a better card, I only have 8 creatures. I want to really up that count. We're starting to run low on space in the deck, and that just means I probably should have some more creatures. That's a pretty late Atarka Efreet. I think that card's really good. I have some concerns about going 3-color, but at the same time, there's just really nothing here that's appealing. I don't like Wandering Tomb Shell all that much. I think I'll take the Atarka Efreet. We'll see if I actually end up splashing for it. I think as of now that seems pretty unlikely, but it's nice that you can at least morph it. So it's a Grey Ogre at worst. All right, pretty good opportunity, I would say, to pick up the Silumgar Butcher, which does double duty as both a creature and a removal spell, and one in which I like quite a bit. So I think we're just easily taking a Butcher here. All right, Coat with Venom. Take that pretty easily. And Ancestral Statue, does that pair well with anything in the deck? I mean, kind of pairs well with exploit creatures, but I'm not really feeling it. I think I'm just going to take Coat with Venom number 2, which I think is going to be a little bit better. All right, we did end up tabling one of the creatures that I wanted in Bloodchin Rager, which is currently actually pretty good with at least a couple creatures in our deck. Granted, not that many, but I think we're probably, as of now, I'm not likely to main deck this Duress. I did say it was main deckable, and I'm standing by that statement, but for now, I think I'm a little more interested in playing a beatdown sort of black-white deck. Herald of Dromoka, yeah, that's another welcome addition to this deck. All right, Black-White Warriors. I think we're getting into that. I'm still okay with playing Corpse Weft in this, because if we have some early trades or early exploits, I'm still going to be spitting out zombies all day, so okay. Wow, all 3 Coat with Venoms. I'm going to take them, and I think, to be honest, I'm pretty likely to play all 3. Here I'm just going to hate the Aspirant, which is just a cheap creature for aggro decks. I'd rather deal with a Savage Vintmaw in the later game. I can just kill it with a Flatten or something like that, or an Enduring Victory. Whatever. Glint. I don't think we're likely to splash for a Tarka Efreet. Foul Tongue Shriek. I don't think we're likely to play it just because we're still a bit creature light. So we have space for 2 spells if I want to play 17 lands. I would like at least 15 creatures. So we'll see if we can make that happen. Let's see. Well, Windscarred Crag would in fact be a way to help splash for a Tarka Efreet. Could be something I consider. Otherwise, Soul Summons is a nice 2-drop beater. Problem is it does not put a creature card in the graveyard for Corpse Weft, but it does give me cheap beaters, which is going to pair really well with Triple Coat with Venom. I think at this point we just want a bunch of cheap creatures. Triple Coat with Venom is like, just think about this. This is what I do. Turn 2 creature, turn 3, attack into your creature, coat with Venom, kill your creature, play another 2-drop. Like, if I can consistently do that, that is some really good early pressure. We may even end up being a 16-land deck just based on what I have in store for this deck, based on Triple Coat with Venom, which is just really good, cheap trick. Oh, wow. Past an Archfiend of Depravity is just a big gift here. Just an insane card in general. Excellent finisher. Having 2 5-drop huge finishers like this is just really nice. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. That is just really nice. Otherwise, Douse and Gloom would be fine, and Vanguard is of course playable alongside Ambuscade Shaman, or just as another Hill Giant or something like that. But clearly, Archfiend is the pick here. As stands, we still can theoretically play. In my opinion, we can theoretically play a 16-land deck fairly easily. Wandering Champ I'm going to take, despite the fact that I don't have blue or red permanents that I'm going to readily discard. I would say with Triple Coat with Venom, actually just in general, I think Wandering Champ is more appealing than Typhoid Rats. So I'm pretty happily taking Wandering Champ here. Also Abzan Sky Captain as well, but yeah, Wandering Champ all day, every day. All right, Harsh Sustenance is in fact a removal spell. There's also Sky Captain. What's my cut? To be honest, I'm not really digging the Carsey Sadist, despite its synergies with Corpse Weft and Dutiful Attendant. I would rather have just a more efficient 2-drop. I guess I'm a bit creature light to really run Harsh Sustenance, but I guess I'm pretty hopeful that I can pick up some more creatures, and the fact that Harsh Sustenance can burn face is pretty appealing here. Yeah, I think Sustenance is where I want to be. I really have 15 creatures currently with the Soul Summon, something to keep in mind. I'm going to take Harsh Sustenance. All right, Executioner seems like a very... Oh my god, this pack has just all sorts of cards we want. So, choices: Executioner, Sandstep Outcast, or Gurmag Angler. I guess I kind of don't want to run Angler only because of Corpse Weft. So really then the choice is Sandstep Outcast or Merciless Executioner, both of which are warriors, by the way. Merciless Executioner has the added benefit of being a removal spell and a creature. Sandstep Outcast has the added benefit of giving you 2 creatures, one of which is a flyer as well. This is a difficult pick for me, actually. This is a pretty difficult pick. I think I'm going to go for the one that's a removal spell just because of its pairing with Corpse Weft, but I don't know. That one's debatable. That could have just as easily have been a Sandstep Outcast pick. I would have been pretty equally happy with both of those. I guess Sandstep Outcast is better against Executioner, but Executioner can be extremely good in some circumstances. Let's just take a Scoured Barrens here, especially if I'm playing 16 lands. I want my mana base to be good, and there's really, I guess, Hewstone Retainers at 5 mana is pretty appealing, or pre-combat play a Coat with Venom into Huge Stone Retainer. That's, honestly, that's not bad. And I kind of want some more creatures. That's not the worst thing I've ever heard. I still think I'm going to take Scoured Barrens just because I'm not short on playables. All right, the Windscarred Crag came back, so I still have the chance to splash a Tarka Efreet, which I think is strong. But I think I would just prefer to go Dragon Bell Monk, which is probably better in our deck anyway, because we have a pretty fair amount of spells that are going to pair well with it. Coat with Venom coming immediately to mind. All right, Dragon Bell Monk it is. All right, Abzan Sky Captain seems correct here. I think I'm likely to try and fit that in. Like at this point, I'm easily cutting Karsi Sadist, which is just an underwhelming 2-drop in general. I'm debating whether I play the Echoes of the Kin Tree. I like it, but like I said, I kind of want to keep my removal as high as possible. And I might just keep it in. Probably cut the Icebreakers too, I think. Someone commented that I cut too early, but I think I explained this before. I really like to gauge what my deck needs in real time rather than pick up a bunch of cards and then set them aside at the end. It makes a lot more intuitive sense to me to see what my deck is lacking the most in any given moment of the draft. So I apologize if I don't draft in the fashion of your liking, but that is just how I do it. Am I going to sideboard an Ancestral Vengeance? There's a chance. Otherwise, I probably hate a Hunt the Weak, which is a good card. Okay, Vanguard versus Cleric. We're aggressive, so I guess Vanguard over Cleric, which is fine. Yeah, I think that's fine. It's kind of a dash effect a little bit. Not really interested in any of these, so if I'm going to hate one, I guess I hate the Contest. In case, I mean, it's kind of odd colorations and it tabled, but someone could be waiting to wheel it, and I think Grim Contest is the most powerful of those cards remaining. Here, I think I hate the Mastodon, which seems the most playable. There's also Rune Mark, but I've got some removal in response for that, so a little less concerned. Second Dragon Bell Monk is a welcome addition. I think I'm taking and very possibly playing that. All right, whatever. I'd still rather hate a Grim Contest than an Archers of Karsi. Okay. So we have more than enough playables, which is a great problem to have. The major question, of course, what are we cutting? And that's a reasonable question. I'm not exactly sure yet. To be honest, I'm kind of on the fence about Dutiful Attendant. Dutiful Attendant is one of those cards that's remarkably good in certain matchups. Or not in certain matchups, in certain decks. Decks that are blue-black, for example, that run a lot of exploit, are really where you're going to shine, in my opinion, the most with Dutiful Attendant. Where you're not going to shine with Dutiful Attendant is decks that don't have a lot of use for it. But let's talk about all the synergies with Dutiful Attendant. Merciless Executioner would be a pretty amazing one with it. Silumgar Butcher is, of course, an excellent one with it. And Bloodchin Rager has some mild interactions with it, but only because 2 creatures would have to block it. Otherwise, it's unblockable, which isn't bad. But I guess actually Herald of Dramoka actually does have some good synergies with it too. So that could be enough to justify playing it here. So this is what our curve looks like if you're not factoring in Megamorph. So I've come to the point where I kind of like looking at this beforehand, before I move them into the morph slots. I've sort of shifted into that. I still very much like Corpse Weft in this deck. I think with just the sheer quantity of 2-drops we have and early trades we can make, I think Corpse Weft could be very good for us. I gotta tell you, I'm still pretty tempted to run Triple Coat with Venom. I really do think it's that good of a combat trick, especially paired with like either of our prowess guys. That would be absolutely insane. Alicia's Vanguard being a warrior that also pairs well with this Ambuscade Shaman makes it pretty tempting here. And it doubles as good with the Shaman as well as the Bloodchin Rager. but other than that, it's pretty much just a hill giant. So some pretty difficult choices to make here in terms of what I think the weakest cards in our deck are versus what I think the strongest are. I think we are going to end up cutting at least one creature, and to be honest, I still am feeling like the Attendant is the least exciting, despite the fact that I said it does pair well with Executioner and Silumgar Butcher, and, well, I'm not really going to include Herald of Dromoka or Bloodchain Rager that much because I think it's pretty mild synergies overall with them, because he's just such a small body. I feel like if I'm trying to be a high pressure deck, I really don't like paying 3 mana for a 1/2. I'd much rather pay 3 mana for like a 2/2 Vigilance Prowess that just pairs well with a bunch of other cards in our deck. I think I'm going to cut Dutiful Attendant. I think it's just overall it beats down the worst. And I'm a little bit, I find the double Marshhulk Sandstorm Charger in game also more appealing. This is a very difficult deck to cut for. Let me add that, because that is absolutely true. I'm having a very difficult time coming up with what I want to cut. I may even cut one more creature because we'd still have 16 creatures with the soul summons. But yeah, that is very difficult. I'm pretty tempted to cut Echoes of the Kin Tree. Here's the main reason why. I have good combat tricks and good removal currently. Triple Coat with Venom, Defeat, Harsh Sustenance, Foul Tongue Invocation, Flatten, Enduring Victory is a very nice suite of removal. Echoes of the Kin Tree is going to be significantly worse in a 16-land deck, and it's also going to be significantly worse in a deck that really is likely to use all of its mana every turn, especially when it comes to Megamorphing on turn 3 and eventually popping these guys right side up to get some damage in that way. So I think Echoes of the Kin Tree is going to get the boot. We need to boot 2 more spells from this deck, and I don't know exactly what they are yet. I think I'm going to stick with the 16 land deck plan, just because I feel like I have enough stuff that I can do early. Look how much stuff I can do with 3 mana or less. That's usually my sign of running 16. I can do, so 7 of my spells are more expensive than 3 mana out of 24 cards. That means that 17 of my cards are 3 mana or less. That is like the vast majority of my deck is 3 mana or less, which tells me that I should be much more comfortable playing 16 lands and being able to get there just off seeing like 3 lands in one game. Okay, so I have to make 2 more cuts. I can cut a creature, so perhaps the Marshhulk, one of the Marshhulks gets the boot, only because 6 mana or 7 mana, it's much easier to cut a late game. It's much easier to cut a late game card in a 16 land deck than it is to cut a cheaper card in a 16 land deck. So I think one of my Marshhulks can get the boot, which means I only have to cut 1 more spell, which ultimately means I should likely cut one of my non-creature spells. I'm pretty tempted to do the Foul Tongue Invocation. I do have a dragon, which means I could potentially get full value, but I got to admit, I'm pretty tempted to cut it, just because I'd rather, I think, play Defeat Triple Coat with Venom. I could cut one of my Coat with Venoms, but they are pretty appealing. Like I said, I feel like there are a lot of times I'm going to get some powerhouse multiple things in a turn that are like kill your huge guy with my Coat with Venom, play another 2-drop follow-up. It's tough. It is tough. I'm going to keep the Corpse Weft, like I said. I guess I only have 14 creatures No, 15, excuse me, 15 creatures that I can get back with it, but that's enough value for me. This thing spits out 2/2 zombies all day, or, you know, bigger zombies than that if I need be. Tough, very tough cut here. So it's Foul Tongue Invocation versus Coat with Venom. If I play against tokens, I'm going to hate Foul Tongue Invocation. If I play against any other deck, I'm probably going to like it more than Coat with Venom. But maybe the plan is main deck the Coat with Venom and sideboard into the more expensive Foul Tongue Invocation. Basically, if I'm playing 16 lands, I want my curve to be as low as humanly possible. And we've got a pretty low curve going right here. So let's bring in our Scoured Barrens. And we're pretty evenly split amongst black and white, but we're going to err towards black. I imagine they do too. They do. So 9 black sources, 8 white sources. This is a powerful deck. I don't know what else to say. I like this deck a lot. It's tough to evaluate, put a number on exactly how much I like this deck, but I do have to say I do think this deck is very powerful. I very much like our removal. I very much like our creature quantity. I'm probably gonna rate this deck at about I gotta put it pretty high. I think I'm going to rate it. It's tough to rate it because I don't know how good Coat with Venom is. I'm going to put it at a solid 7.5. I think it could easily be put at 8, but I need to play more with Coat with Venom and see if this card is as good as I think it is. Maybe it'll prove that I'm over-evaluating it, but I really do think Coat with Venom is just one of those bonkers one-mana ways to take care of a lot of different threats. Okay, so my final rating is 7.5. We've got a pretty fun-looking little black-white brew here, so we'll see you round 1.